This is Expedition Texas, the podcast, presented by Crazy Water. Hello and welcome to Expedition Texas, the podcast. I'm your host, Bob Malden, and we are presented each and every week here by the folks at Crazy Water, the greatest thing to ever come out of the ground in Mineral Wells, Texas. Get some at your favorite store, Crazy Water. The only thing crazy is that you haven't tried it yet, so get out and get a bottle at your favorite grocery store, okay? Also presented by the East Texas Oil Museum in Kilgore, Texas. Schedule your visit at the Kilgore College website, kilgorecollege.edu/East Texas Oil Museum. Okay, get by there and check them out. But first, folks, we want to get in here and talk a little bit about Henderson, Texas. Our guests today are here to tell you all about it. I have Alexa and Phedra from Henderson, and I want them to tell you their full names and what they do and who they are and what they're all about. We'll start closest to me. This is Alexa here to my left. Hi, Alexa.
Well, hi, Bob. How are you?
Good. Introduce yourself to the folks out there.
I am Alexa Duke. I am the Tourism and Main Street Coordinator for the city of Henderson.
All right, Phedra, you're up.
Hi, I'm Phedra Johnson, and I am a fanatic for Crazy Water.
Aha, you like it?
It's delicious.
All right. She's over here mugging and doing the commercial for you that watch on the YouTube channel.
If they're looking for additional partnership opportunities.
There you go.
I'm the communications coordinator for the city of Henderson. So many opportunities for partnership.
Well, I met the both of you when we featured Henderson, Texas as a spotlight city for Expedition Texas. And that is something that, I've been around East Texas my entire life. I've known about Henderson, Texas my entire life. And in that 2-minute little clip about Henderson, Texas, I learned more than I've ever known about Henderson, Texas in my entire life. And there's so much more to tell. There's so much more to Henderson, Texas than the little bit you might get if you pass through on 64 or, it's just there's so much to talk about and so much to cover, and that's why we have you here. We did feature Henderson, Texas as a spotlight city on Expedition Texas, which was cool. We have an announcement about Henderson pertaining to the TV show Expedition Texas, but we're going to save that
Is this a
for
surprise?
later on. It's a surprise for them. I think you know about it already, but we're going to. Alexa definitely knows about it.
Okay.
Because we just talked about it today. But we are going to hold that bit of information for you until later in the program and reveal it at just the right moment.
Oh, goodness. All right.
Maximum impact.
She's settling in over there now. She's like, okay, this is going to be good. We're going to do this. All right. So let's start again here with Alexa. Alexa, tell us how you came to be with the city of Henderson, Texas.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Is this an epic story? You kind of look like you had to think about that.
Well, no, it's just not a very interesting story.
That's a lie.
That to you, it's your story, but it might be interesting to someone else.
Okay, so I moved to Henderson in 1991.
Okay.
And lived there for a long time. Met my husband, got married. A couple of years after he passed away, I decided I've had enough of East Texas, and I moved to Arizona.
You did?
I did.
And even more arid.
Yeah.
Yes, and I discovered that I am not fond of 115-degree days.
And it's a dry heat there, folks. It's not this.
It is a dry heat, which means, when I first moved there, I looked at my friends and I was like, wow, this is great. When you sweat, it does what it's supposed to do. It evaporates and cools you off.
All right.
Unless it's 115, and then it evaporates too fast to cool you off.
Oh, no.
So
then you have problems.
Yeah. So started looking for a way to come back. My dad got sick.
Yeah.
Started looking for a way to come back to Texas. Got a job with the Texas Historical Commission.
Okay.
And wound up down on the coast where I love it. But then this job came open, and all those years that I lived in Henderson, and everybody said, you really need your own ad agency. And this job opened up, and I was like, it's not an ad agency, but it's kind of perfect for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It kind of brings in some of the nuances are there for sure.
Well, 27 years. How long did I live there for? 26 years. Mm-hmm. And I remember going to visit my sister, who moved there 10 years before I did.
Yeah.
And went to visit her one time, and we had gone to eat at the local Chinese restaurant. And every person that came through the door seemed like she knew
Right.
And I teased her about it. And she was like, oh, I don't know everybody. Well, then after I'd been there about 5 or 6 years, we went out to dinner at the Chinese restaurant. And literally every single person who came in the door, one of us knew.
Isn't that a cool thing about a small town, though? You're there enough, you see everyone, you get to know everyone, and then eventually that's what happens.
Yeah. And when I first moved there, I had moved from Houston. And I remember telling some people that it's so nice to live somewhere where people wave at you with more than one finger.
See, that's kind of how it is with me in White House. I can't go to Dollar General in my PJs anymore.
Oh, yeah.
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 I always see somebody I know there.
And, as soon as everybody found out that I had taken a job with the city, now when I go to Walmart, it's, when are you going to do something about that pothole in front of my house? I don't do potholes.
Yeah, not in the pothole department.
Yep,
Yeah.
not me. Let me give you a phone number.
All right. Always good to have that one handy.
Oh, yeah.
But Phedra, so you didn't have to go too far to get to Henderson, Texas yourself, did you?
No, I guess a native of East Texas. Yes.
Yeah. Kind of tell us your story, how you ended up in Henderson, Texas.
Oh goodness, I don't know if it's as epic as Alexa.
Does it involve?
Because it was such a saga.
Does it involve arid heat and your sweat evaporating immediately?
No. I am a native of this area. I started out in radio. I did radio for almost a decade. I worked at KLTV. I worked for many years behind the scenes on the camera, helped them build out their very first website, helped them reach their first 1 million views, did AM and FM radio, had children, moved into nonprofit, and from nonprofit moved into governance. I worked for the city of Dallas in the office of the mayor. COVID came and the entire world was flipped upside down. I left the city of Dallas during the COVID epidemic and came back to East Texas. I was put on a project because at that point, no one really knew what COVID was. It was this flu.
Yeah.
And the mayor and city council was very concerned about what this disease was. So I ended up doing a lot of research. I took that information and knowledge and I came back to East Texas and I started working for a school district. And then after COVID sort of kind of started to lay low, I was looking for something else to do and went back into governance, and an opportunity had just like freshly opened up. The city manager was very forward thinking as far as what he wanted to do with the visibility and the marketing aspect of the city, something that had really never been touched upon before. And I had sort of like the perfect storm of crazy ideas, much to the chagrin of a great many people.
Yes, but I loved them.
Yes. So Henderson is a town very much steeped in tradition. So the new ideas weren't the most popular, but I think we've moved the needle forward in a lot of really exciting ways.
Well, that's what the whole thing is. You kind of move it forward. These new ideas help bring on new ways of doing things, and that's never bad, right?
Oh.
Never bad. All right. So when we were in town to talk about Henderson and the history for the Spotlight City, we all visited. We talked. Who was the other fellow we talked to?
That was John Clary. He was
Clary.
head of the Economic Development Corporation.
Right. Okay. And so we all sat down and we talked. And there's so much footage. I mean, I almost could just go back and pull that in here and use that of all the great things that you guys said, because you've already kind of told me these stories once, but they didn't all make it to TV. So now we have a chance to expand and tell these really interesting stories. And Phedra, I love the way that you presented sort of the origin story of Henderson, Texas for us. Can you kind of do that here? And you do not have to keep it into this nice, pretty soundbite, because we have all the time in the world now. Well,
Henderson is a really unique city in that it's actually older than the state of Texas. Anglos started moving into the area in the early 1800s. There was a large population of Native Americans. As was, for the time period, they were moved out while settlers moved in.
As happened everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah. There was a lot of hardwood. There was a lot of very fertile land. And there was also, strangely enough, large deposits of red clay. So really Henderson sort of sprung up with this opportunity for farming, for forestry, and also pottery, which had been used by the Native Americans, and also brick making and brick firing. So lots of clay products actually came out of Henderson. As the city kind of grew up, it was sort of like the who's who of the Republic of Texas. I think there's an in there, I think, that Sam Houston was there. I think he had like
his cousin lived in the oldest brick house in town.
Yes. And
Wow.
so I think some of his belongings were actually sort of showcased there.
Yeah, his campaign chest and his favorite buttermilk pitcher are on display in the Howard Dickinson
Yeah.
house.
Well, it's good that they keep the important things.
Well, so, it really was a who's who. Even Smith County, which was named for General Smith. Smith actually was very fast and close friends with sort of everybody.
Yeah.
Pull up the names for me, because I can't remember the exact
she's got
names.
names.
Let's see. Named after Thomas Jefferson Rusk, who was Secretary of War under President Sam Houston.
It was really just astounding how many sort of dignitaries, flocked to Henderson and helped build it out. But Smith, who is actually the founder and the namesake for Smith County here in Tyler, is actually buried in a square centralized area in Henderson.
In Smith Park.
Is that the park that you guys sent me to that I got the shots of where there's
Yes.
so that's at the intersection there, sort of where the road
Little
splits.
Triangle Park.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's actually buried there. And he was just really close and fast friends with a Mr. Henderson. I forget his
James
gentleman?
Pinckney Henderson.
James Pinckney Henderson. They were good, close friends. He donated land that actually became later the city of Henderson. Just really fascinating, just how many banks and different business districts there were. There was an old courthouse. That courthouse burned. Tragically, actually the story of how Henderson burned is a wee bit controversial, so I don't really know how much you want to go into that.
It depends on how much you and your bosses think it's okay to go into it, because really, it's history. We can find what it is, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And there was, the city was burned, I think it was August of 1860.
Yes.
And of course, there were a lot of agitators in the area. This was, just prior to the Civil War.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of
Carpetbaggers, as they called them at the time.
yeah, but there was a lot of agitation, between the pro-slavery, anti-slavery,
Right.
and feelings were as people back then said, getting het.
All right. Yeah.
And not sure exactly what started the fire, but one August evening, a fire started in downtown Henderson and burned almost all of downtown.
Wow.
It was a huge conflagration. And of course, there was immediately a rumor that runaway slaves had started this fire.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually had what they called a trial and hung some people.
Now, I love that. What they called a trial.
Well, it's
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
research has been done since then that indicates that the people who were hung for this, 99.9% certain, had nothing to do with it.
Oh, no.
So, but it was a product of the time, and so a scapegoat had to be found, and they found one.
Yeah.
But that incident was right at the very beginning. Over the next 6 months, there were lots of small incidents throughout East Texas that led to Texas seceding and joining the Confederacy. And it all kind of started with that big fire in Henderson.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. And I'm pretty sure anywhere you look around the South, there's probably some story like this that's kind of tough to tell. Mm-hmm. In towns all over Texas and of course all of our neighboring states in the South, these kind of stories that are kind of tough to tell, that it's history and it's part of it. There's history in the town we're sitting in right now that there are stories that are tough to tell and that come up though, and they're part of the story. And like you said, there are things like that, and the other instances that happen around East Texas that all had something to do with a monumental thing happening. That of course ended up changing the fabric of everything around here, and so those stories are part of it. And what I like to see though is the fact that something rose from the ashes, and something very positive and very awesome with what you guys are in Henderson. And I want to talk a little bit about kind of once we get past all the tragic ugliness of Civil War era and things like that. What happened to Henderson? Obviously, Henderson came back in a big way, and there's a lot of history in Henderson, and even some really interesting recent, I guess you would say more recent history than that. When I was down there shooting B-roll, I was walking along in front of one of the old buildings that's down there. I think now it's probably a boutique or something to that effect, and I'm looking down in the tile where everyone's, in the old days they would build the building and a name or whatever the store name would be there. And I noticed bells, and I'm thinking, maybe there was another one.
Very first Bales store.
Really?
In Henderson.
That was it.
The home of those two gentlemen is actually at the Depot Museum. So it's that wooden with the dog trot that goes through.
That
was
wooden
actually
cabin out front. That was the Bales brothers.
The Bales
Really?
brothers home.
Bale
Okay.
brothers. They didn't have an S.
Yeah, Bale.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So and you talk about the Depot Museum, because then there's also this thing that happens, and I guess pretty early on. And Phedra, you talked about this in the interview about how sugarcane came to be a prominent crop in Henderson, and how it's still celebrated today, which we're going to get into that, because there's an entire festival built around syrup. And what a sweet idea. We're gonna.
It's the sweetest festival in Texas.
It is. I've been there, and I've brought home very tasty souvenirs from the sweetest festival in Texas. And so we will get into that here in just a little bit. But right now, I want to tell you folks about the East Texas Oil Museum. In fact, I'm going to let Olivia Moore tell you. We're going to hear from Olivia here about the East Texas Oil Museum right now.
Do you love history? Do you ever wonder about the way things were almost 100 years ago in East Texas? Visit the Kilgore College East Texas Oil Museum to learn about the men and women who lived during the East Texas oil boom of the 1930s. Step back in time and visit Boomtown, USA, the life-size diorama of a town booming in oil. Step inside the general store and visit the shopkeeper. Head to the theater to watch the Great Oil Boom movie. And no visit would be complete without taking a quick journey on the elevator ride to the center of the earth to learn about all of the geology of the East Texas oil field. The East Texas Oil Museum is now open Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. with last entry at 4 p.m. For more information, visit kilgore.edu/oil museum or find us on all the socials.
The waters of Mineral Wells, Texas have been making folks feel good inside and out since 1881. Maybe it's because of the flavor, or maybe they just might have some sort of story associated with a crazy woman who drank from the well and suddenly wasn't so crazy anymore. Either way, you'd be crazy not to drink it. It's Mineral Wells, the pride of Mineral Wells, the legendary crazy water. Of course, my favorite is number 4. It has the highest mineral content, and I love it. It's got a different kind of flavor. And of course, we've got our guests in the studio today have their own crazy water, and I think Phedra is even going for a spokesperson gig, because she was holding that up and modeling her number 3 over there a little bit
Always
earlier.
looking for opportunities.
Yes, of course. And then Alexa's got number 2 here, which is probably just pretty much your straight Mineral Wells spring water. So y'all enjoy that. I'm going to enjoy mine, and we're going to get back in here talking about this festival, which you say is the sweetest festival. And I have to agree. As I said before, I've been to the Henderson Heritage Syrup Festival and can attest that it's just a massively amazing event. Tons of people come to town. There's all sorts of tasty goodies and throwbacks to days gone by. And you guys even press your own syrup there.
We do.
Yeah.
Down at the Depot Museum, we have an antique mule-driven cane press.
Yeah, they just walk around in circles all day.
Yep. Crush that cane. So, and then the juice travels down a little pipe into the cooking pan, and we have a team of expert syrup cookers.
They like syrup pushers.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And they will stand there and cook syrup all day. Now, we cannot sell the syrup that they make on site. Health regulations say that because we actually have a real mule running the press, you can't sell a food product made where there is a live animal. But
can you give some to a guy who wanders up and says, "Hey, I know somebody"?
Maybe. And anybody can wander up and taste it.
Oh, okay.
It's like little sticks.
Yeah. They will pour some into a cup and give you a tasting stick. So you can taste it. You just can't buy that syrup.
Okay.
Now, you can go into the Depot Museum anytime during the year and buy a gallon of ribbon cane syrup. It's just not the syrup that was made during the festival.
Yeah. And that's one of the features of the festival. Of course, that's kind of one of those throwback kind of things. You can always find somebody making kettle corn or something like that out there.
Tons of kettle corn and cotton candy. And there's craft demonstrations, old-time crafting. There's a lady who spins. There's somebody who's weaving. There's a blacksmith.
The blacksmith is my personal favorite.
It's so cool to watch the sparks fly.
Yeah, it is cool. I mean,
I don't even know what all what artisans they have. There's a broom maker, and they are looking for a new broom maker because they've had two. One of them has retired. So if any of our audience out there knows how to make brooms the old-fashioned way, call the Depot Museum.
Now's your chance.
Wow.
Speaking of opportunities.
Yes, what an opportunity. And now this is a gig as you would replace the retiring broom maker at the Heritage Syrup Festival. Interesting job opportunity there.
Absolutely.
So you can send your resume.
Yes,
absolutely.
Do broom makers have to have a resume? I mean, really, it's just like, look what I can make.
Bring a broom, please.
I'm going to watch you make one.
Hand me that bale of hay. I'm going to make something that'll amaze you.
So all of that kind of old-time craft and skill demonstrations are going on down at the Depot Museum. And there are vendors down there. They have food. The carousel is running. It's only $1 to ride the carousel.
Cool.
Freshly refurbished. All of the carousel horses have been redone by Beth Brubaker, a local artist. And then in downtown, we have enough shopping that you could buy a gift for every single person you have ever met in your entire life and not hit all of our vendors.
If you're an enthusiast for birdhouses made out of gourds.
Okay,
Be there.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
and
there's everything, though.
Literally everything.
Yeah.
And you were talking about the sweet goodies. We have more cottage food vendors this year than we have ever had.
Really?
Dozens of cottage food vendors.
Is the ice cream guy going to be there, though?
He hangs out down at the Depot. He's not in my area.
What do we have to do to get him? Bring him over to our side.
If I steal him from the museum, I'm going to sick Vicky on you.
Okay.
So.
Oh, we have a little negotiation
I wouldn't
going
want
on.
that.
We basically have two festivals operating at the same time under the same name.
So what is the deal with the two?
So all
locations?
of the heritage activities and the skill demonstrations and all that stuff is run down at the Depot Museum, and that part is all organized and funded by the county.
Okay.
And then everything that is downtown with the live bands and the shopping and the children's area and the car show and all that neat fun stuff, that is all organized and funded by the city. So it's all one festival, but it's organized in two different areas. And there's a hayride shuttle to go back and forth between the two. So,
see, that's it. You got it all figured out. You got I was about to ask about that, but you got the hayride shuttle, so it's all good.
Mm-hmm. Well, the hayride shuttle is going to be making an additional stop this year, so we're actually incorporating and folding into the second annual Trainers Challenge. So the animal shelter, last year they did the very first Trainers Challenge, where you can actually adopt a sheltered dog. These are untrained dogs. All of them will be fixed. All of them will be given their shots. All of them will be microchipped. And you or your family, whether you're a professional, an amateur, or you just have absolutely no experience training dogs, starting tomorrow, October 1st, you can adopt a shelter dog, and then you have until festival time to train the dog with basic commands. If you visit our website and look at the animal shelter page, there is actually a tag there for the Trainers Challenge. It gives you a whole grading rubric of what type of basic commands to train the dog with. And then on the day of the Heritage Syrup Festival, the Trainer Challenge will take place at Fair Park. And you can come out and you can see how well these professional and amateur trainers have been able to rehabilitate their shelter dog.
And it starts with
fun.
a pet parade.
They have a pet parade.
That's at 9, right?
Pet parade, which basically is just an opportunity if you bring out your pet with you, and many people like to do that at the festival. Parade with your pet if you have them in a cute little costume or anything like that. They go around Fair Park, which is the Fair Paws Dog Park. And then, of course, after the conclusion of the pet parade, they have vendors, they have microchipping, they have anything you can think of that a dog could possibly want. And then the Trainers Challenge. We really encourage people to come out. It's a lot of fun. There's always a dog who is super motivated. He's locked in. He's ready to go. And then there's always those dogs that,
like mine,
despite the best efforts of the trainers, they're pretty much just kind of like having to hoist them through the challenges. But the people who actually train the dogs have first opportunity if they'd like to adopt the dog and make it part of their forever family. However, if the trainer is more interested in seeing the dog go to another family, there's an opportunity to adopt on site, but the shelter will make sure that all of our doggy participants do find a forever home. So it really is just making sure that these dogs have an opportunity to stay placed in homes. One of the biggest things the shelter actually sees is the number one reason dogs are brought back is because of lack of training with basic commands. So this is trying to help eliminate that challenge for people bringing pets into their home and bring more awareness into the need for it.
That's very cool.
So.
I would enter a dog, but my dog, I went through 2 or 3 full courses, like the whole course, and she did great at class. But when it was time to show other people, it's showtime is where. But the thing is, in your home, and that when they get started training them, I can see that the opportunity to bond is probably definitely there.
And a lot of the trainers do end up ultimately adopting the pet that they've selected. But there's always those that already, especially if they're professional trainers, they already have a number of pets. They're really doing this out of the kindness of their heart to give somebody an opportunity to have a really select, trained dog.
Absolutely. So. Well, the Syrup Festival happens. Tell us when and how they can participate. Let all the goodies that they need to know to be able to be a part of the Heritage Syrup Festival.
It is always second Saturday in November. So this year, November 9th, the festival is officially from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Downtown Henderson and at the Depot Museum. If you go to the city's website, excuse me, Phedra has added the GPS coordinates so you can find us.
Yes. And that's, a lot of times is, one of the blind spots often is we're very familiar with our town. We know where everything's located. But the Syrup Festival is something that truly draws people from all over the country. Yeah. So we've just tried to think through those opportunities for making sure people can.
It's one of those forward-thinking things, putting the GPS coordinates on
there.
So
people can find where, because, we just know the Depot Museum, but that's not so readily apparent.
Well, and our historic downtown, as gorgeous as it is not located on a major highway. So we have 5
I've noticed that.
Yeah, we have 5 highways that come together at the traffic star in town.
Yes.
But you can travel down every one of those highways and not see downtown.
Really?
So
you need that extra help.
Not even over a hill or anything?
Yeah, no. Yeah, as gorgeous as it is, you
it's
have
a beautiful
to look
downtown.
for it.
You do have to go downtown, though, and see it. So you touched on a little bit there that I want to go back a little bit to some history that we didn't get a chance to mention. And when you talk about the traffic star, didn't there used to be like kind of almost a roundabout
It was
a long time
Yes,
ago, and you
it
can
was-
almost tell if you look at it now. It's the intersection of all those highways you mentioned.
259, 79, 43, and 64 all come together, and was a star there from
It was the least favorite thing in the fire department.
oh yes, and many car wrecks and accidents on the circle because
Really?
the big 18-wheelers, we're on 259 and 79, major trade
Major,
routes
yeah.
for 18-wheelers, and they would hit that circle and be going a little too fast.
Oh no, yeah, I guess that could be a problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and it's we call it a prayer light now because you definitely have time to sit there and say your prayers while you wait for your light to change. But it's so much safer than the
good.
circle.
So an improvement then, okay. But yeah, so there was a circle there, and you can kind of see remnants of it when you go by there. Something I was looking for, even a hint of, but it isn't there at all anymore, was the little red building on the hill where the old radio station used to be. And a little connection to that for me was that for about 6 or 8 years, I worked with Tom Perryman, who actually owned the radio station that was there in Henderson with Jim Reeves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I worked at that radio station long after the little red building was gone.
Okay.
But the original studios that I worked in were, greatly updated. And then when the family that had owned the station, they had bought it from Mr. Perriman and Mr. Reeves. And so they had run it for years.
Yeah.
And they decided to retire, and they sold off KGRI, the FM station, and kept KWRD and moved it back to its even older studios
Really?
out on Kilgore Highway. And
Okay.
Alexa, you're a wealth of Henderson history.
I'm old.
When we went through those resumes, we pulled the right one.
There you go. Yeah. So I have you to thank for this job. November 10th, I'll come visit you.
Must be the anniversary date.
That's the day after syrup
We can
festival.
celebrate with
Yeah.
a cool, delicious, refreshing, crazy water.
Here she goes
Crazy
with
water.
with the
brought
audition.
to you by.
No, I like their little blurb on the back of this. Water as nature intended, with minerals and electrolytes infused by Mother Nature, not some factory.
Yes, I love it. I don't think that's on mine. Is that on mine?
It's not on yours?
Does everyone get
No.
a
Look
different-
above, look right
oh
above.
no, there it
your-
is. Yes,
yeah.
I see it. It's right under the where it tells
Oh,
you
yeah,
which number
actually.
you have there, right above the
Yeah,
mineral
see,
content.
Now you have a new blurb you can use.
Yeah, not some factory. I like it because you can go there straight to the wells at the famous water company, and you can fill your own water bottle. You can get a case of this stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's cool. It's
might
really
have
cool.
to go do that.
I mean, Mineral Wells is a really cool place. So, I mean, just telling Henderson about Mineral Wells, you guys y'all should talk.
A collaboration.
Yes, I'm
There
telling
we
you.
go. I need them to join our tourism council.
Y'all
We
can
need a
do
cases of water
Take
to
'em
give
some-
out for Freedom Festival.
take 'em some
a
syrup.
a cooling station.
take
There
them
we
some
go.
syrup, bring back some water, make a trade.
Then we'll
Man.
go to Grand Saline and get some salt and trade
So-
them. And
And then the kids
There you
can
go.
pay $1 to lick the salt block at the Syrup Festival.
and it's amazing to me that people would actually do that.
Oh yeah, I know my kids would be on board for that. They
Oh, yeah.
Sure, let's try that.
Anyway.
So those are the two little nuggets of Henderson history that I always found, just as a passerby, interesting. The traffic star and the radio station.
And you know what you can see at that traffic star now?
What?
The oldest Dairy Queen in Texas.
Tell me about that.
It's the
The
oldest Dairy Queen in Texas.
She told me
Come
about
on
it.
down, folks.
But it really is.
It's the oldest operating.
Operating.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
And
Continuously operating.
Okay.
Yes.
You got to get all those qualifying words in there.
Now, because there's older Dairy Queens in the United States, but there's not an older operating Dairy Queen in Texas.
Okay.
Because the little town that I grew up in, down south of Houston, used to have the oldest Dairy Queen in Texas.
Yeah.
And then they turned it into a car lot. So now Henderson carries the title.
There you go. Thanks, little town south of Houston.
The only thing we don't have is the catfish basket. You have to be really deep. You have to be in Mineral Wells. You have to be in Alba. There's probably
Yeah.
places you visited. You know,
The catfish basket?
you know you're in a A very
Oh,
small town.
As a menu item.
Yeah, if the Dairy Queen
Oh.
has the catfish basket.
Well, I'm going to be on the lookout for that now.
Please do.
I don't know that I've ever seen a catfish basket
You have
at Dairy
to be.
Queen.
You have to be deep in the weeds to find the Dairy Queen.
Well, you know, I live deep in the weeds.
I'm learning more about more than just Henderson here.
These little nuggets. I had to
Yeah.
take this earring off. I feel like
Okay.
it's hitting the.
Yeah, I travel all over the state of Texas, and I need these little bits of information. So this is good stuff. Good stuff to know.
So on your next program, you can invite us out. We can do just a whole tour of Texas. You, me, Alexa in a van looking for the catfish.
Yeah, we'll just go look for the catfish
Catfish.
basket.
I'll have to sit down and make you a list of all the interesting places I found along I-20 and I-40 and I-10 when I was driving back and forth from Arizona several times a year.
Yeah.
We
Did you
found
ever
some interesting places.
venture off and check out like the, for example, if you're going I-20, like venture off and go through like the old route of Highway 80, or even further back, the Bankhead Highway?
I have not. And the Bankhead Highway is actually a Texas Historical Commission
Yeah.
I don't even know
branded
what that is.
something. They have a
is.
historic highways series.
I can
Yeah.
turn this direction if you guys would like to talk about it.
No,
because you guys seem very
we're
passionate.
We're going to tell you about it now.
Okay, please do
So-
educate me.
Before I-20, there was Highway 80. Before Highway 80, there was the Bankhead Highway.
So are we talking like
From-
trail?
It was from it was like
No, it was
they couldn't considered it a highway, but it was you might could fit two cars going the opposite direction.
Okay.
Little bitty.
Equivalent to today's farm to market road.
Yeah,
gotcha. Okay.
if even that wide.
Yeah.
I mean, it was tiny, and which you didn't need much. The cars weren't going very fast, but yeah, there are
45 was death defying back then. So.
And there are cities that we've visited on Expedition Texas where they were very proud of the Bankhead Highway coming through their towns, so they paved it in brick. And they would, of course, the brick was right down the road from Thurber, so Eastland and Ranger and Cisco, the area that went through Eastland County, it's all paved in brick, and much of it it's like a country road that goes off into the woods, and you're thinking, what is this?
So
And
it's still there?
It's still there. Yeah, it's on the cover of the book. It's right here. I'll show you that's part of it right there, outside of Ranger.
By
that
the
was
way,
a highway.
folks, make sure you pick up your copy of
I haven't got around to that yet. You go ahead and make the plug.
There you go.
Just let them know it's
There you go.
anywhere. There's a little blurb on the back. You can read that.
Anywhere catfish baskets are served.
Right.
I have an autographed copy of this you can borrow and read.
Yeah.
So.
It's but that's it on the cover of Expedition Texas Tales from the Road, which is available wherever you get your books.
See, does this have any of my thing has always been trying to find out the haunted Henderson.
We need to do a whole series on that, but I got to do a lot more research.
Certainly, we have at least one ghost. Just one.
Every town has at least one.
Well, the Howard Dickinson house is haunted.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yes. And actually, there's a couple of ghosts in the Howard Dickinson house.
Oh yeah, it's the floor. The floor
Yeah,
guy.
okay. So
Okay.
Martha Howard,
Okay.
General Sam Houston's cousin.
This is an October episode, so we can go ahead and do this.
I will
Let's
make
do
the
that.
sound effects.
Okay.
Let's set the mood.
Martha had two sons. And the story goes that they were down in the basement cleaning their guns.
Not
And-
suspicious at all.
No, not at all. And one of the sons accidentally shot himself. Now, supposedly
In the stomach.
he got from
Downstairs.
the basement. And if you've ever been in the house, you know it's not a straight shot to get from the basement around to the stairs and up to the second floor to his mother's bedroom, where she was supposedly sitting in front of the fireplace in her rocking chair. And he came up and threw himself in her lap and died there in front of her fireplace. And there is a
Stain.
discoloration on the floor to this day.
That you cannot sand out. They've tried to sand it out and have not been able to sand
Yes.
it out.
And so there is a ghostly female figure
Okay.
wearing a long white dress who wanders the house, almost always starts at the upper landing of the staircase, has been seen at many windows by many people. And the story is that is Mrs. Howard looking for her lost son.
Is this the house that we did the interviews in?
It is. Isn't that fun?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
You were
that would have been nice to know, I guess.
You were in the room directly over where young Mr. Howard shot himself.
See, I didn't know there was a basement. I would have been asking to see that.
No,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have.
Oh, I wouldn't have?
No, it's super creepy.
Okay.
I don't.
We go to a lot of creepy places on the show.
Back when I worked at the radio station in town and had left the newspaper, but a friend of mine still worked at the local paper, and we decided we were going to have a publicity stunt, and so we spent the night
Are
in the
you the
Howard
ghost
Dickinson
in the
house.
white dress?
No,
Oh,
I am not. So,
Now, that would have been a stunt.
the fun thing
Yeah.
is that I don't particularly believe in ghosts the way that other people do.
Right.
My friend from the newspaper who went and spent the night there with me believes everything is a ghost. Everything.
Yeah.
And so it didn't matter what happened in the house that night. She was like,
Did you
Mrs.
stay the
Howard.
whole time?
Oh, we stayed all night. Yes,
Really?
ma'am.
You didn't see anything then?
No.
That's a letdown.
So, yeah. But
But
if
don't
you ask
edit,
Sherry.
edit that out. It is extremely haunted, and by all means, please visit Howard Dickinson House.
If you ask Sherry, there were plenty of episodes.
Right.
Oh, okay.
You know, we had gone upstairs and set up a camera, and then we went downstairs to go eat. And when we came back up, the wardrobe door was open.
Okay.
And Sherry's like,
ghost.
Miss Howard opened her closet. And it's like, okay. You know, I go over there and I'm stepping around on the floor all in front of it. And sure enough, you step on one board and the closet door opens.
Why are you such a Debbie Downer?
I heard that all night long.
Can't you just let us have this one haunting?
There are a couple of times that you've done this, Phedra, that I'm like, this reminds me of something, and I just figured out what it is. It's the Saturday Night Live sketch where they're doing the radio show, and the ladies will lean into the microphone and say something like what you just did. That was awesome. That's giving me like the throwback to that.
It's like butter.
So we do need to talk though before we get too carried away here, because we are running out of time. We need to reveal what our big story is that we need to tell everybody.
Okay.
And it's exciting because Spotlight City is not the last time Henderson is being featured on Expedition Texas. In fact, you go check out the Syrup Festival, but make sure you make plans to attend even more in Henderson, and you might end up on TV because we are celebrating Christmas with Henderson, Texas this year.
Absolutely. Bob is going to join us not only for the Syrup Festival,
Okay.
but for the Christmas parade.
Really?
And for any Christmas events that are going on the day of the parade.
Yeah.
The Grinch.
We're going to be talking
And we're going
about
to have
The
an
Grinch
entire episode all
Yeah.
to ourselves.
So every year we have these 2 or 3 episodes that
Why do
happen
you love
every
us
year.
so much?
Because
We're a great place.
Yes.
I just want to know.
And there are 2 or 3 each year. And last year, for some reason, we were in Central Texas most of the time, and didn't. And we haven't. I don't think we featured any except Athens a few years back. But this will be the first time that we've really concentrated on East Texas, and so I'm very excited that Christmas with Expedition Texas will feature all of the activities for the holidays in Henderson, Texas. There will be some shots of the Syrup Festival included in that, and it will air. What date do we decide on?
I think the 21st.
The 21st. Okay, so I knew we had so somebody else is doing the 14th then, I guess, and you guys will be on the 21st. So right there, right before Christmas, you can watch and celebrate Christmas with Expedition Texas and the folks in Henderson. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Kind of tell us about the days and the activities, so if folks want to come out and be a part of the activities themselves and maybe end up on the show.
Absolutely. I should have brought my list of downtown events going on, and I didn't grab
Well,
a
I'm
card.
just wondering if there's going to be an Expedition Texas float.
A float. I don't have time to
parade
float.
entry.
We're going to be shooting a show.
But I think you should have a wagon at least. That we
A
could-
wagon. Yeah.
Get Sally to pull the wagon. And Anyway,
Well,
before
yeah,
we
we'll
get there,
discuss.
we have downtown trick or treating in
So we're
downtown Henderson.
We're talking
Yeah.
about the whole shebang for the whole holidays.
yeah.
Everything.
So
we're
that's
gonna
coming up
do?
pretty soon. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, but we have downtown trick or treating, which is followed that next weekend by the big Christmas open house event in downtown, where all of our downtown merchants will reveal their do the big window display reveal.
Which is a
we
lot
have
of fun.
Donovan's downtown will close down for a week to
Wow.
decorate his windows in his store.
They really are so beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that first weekend in November is the downtown open house, and all of the merchants will be having sales, and you can get all your Christmas shopping done, or some of it, because you want to save some for Syrup Festival.
Yeah.
And then
Pace yourself.
Yeah, you had mentioned that you could do it all at Syrup Festival, so let's don't. Let's do it. Let's spread it out a little bit.
Pace yourself.
do half your shopping at the downtown open house and the other half at the Syrup Festival, and then another half on Pink Friday, which is the Friday before Thanksgiving. It is a kind of a new initiative that boutiques do.
Okay.
So it's the boutique version of Black Friday. Black Friday, you go and buy all of your big electronics and everything.
Yeah, right.
Your little specialized boutiques all have big sales on Pink Friday.
Well, we don't want to forget Paint the Town Pink as well. Our fire department actually has a cancer fund. So the cancer fund actually raises funds through the sale of shirts, and all of those donated funds are actually parceled out throughout the year to go in monetary donations to cancer survivors. In the city of Henderson specifically. So they receive a check. It can go towards anything they need, whether it be treatment, whether it be gas to treatment, whether it be overnight hotel stays or bills. So that is an absolutely fabulous cause. I know last year we raised over $10,000. The shirts go up for sale. They're available right now at the Central Fire Station in Henderson. Claudette is right there at the front. She's such a sweet person. She can help you pick out your shirt. There's shirts, there's hoodies, there's hats, and of course all those proceeds for Paint the Town Pink all October long. There also are restaurant partners, so if you eat at those local restaurants in October, part of the proceeds goes towards the cancer fund, and the firefighters really just have big hearts, and it's such a wonderful program. It really does change lives.
Awesome. It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So
Let's see.
Continue on here. We've got
all right, so Pink Friday,
yeah.
and then Black Friday, of course, we'll have big sales going on.
Okay.
And then December 5th, 1 week after Thanksgiving, traditionally, is our downtown Christmas parade, which will kick off at about 6 p.m. as soon as it gets dark.
Yeah.
We usually light the big Christmas tree at 6, and then we have to give our city dignitaries time to run from lighting the Christmas tree to the
Over
beginning of the parade.
Yes.
And then the parade starts with lighted floats and high school bands and junior high bands and every
Shriners.
club. Oh, the
Oh, yeah.
And their
Shriners
tiny
are
cars.
insane in those little cars. And it's a great time. And we always need some out-of-town judges to help judge the parade. So I need 3 judges for that. So if somebody wants to
Celebrity
volunteer...
I don't know any celebrities. And I'm going to be hosting, so I'll be busy. But I might could break away because that would be kind of fun. And it's judging like the parade floats.
Yes, and they get very elaborate. They're
I'm
very
supposed
neat.
to be an impartial observer.
Well, okay,
Right?
but you're bring you a cameraman to be the impartial observer, and you could be a judge.
Oh, okay, all right, that'll work. I will definitely have someone else there with me. So,
but if there's somebody else out there who is not from
Yes.
Henderson
that would
Yes.
like to
who
be
wants to
impartial.
volunteer
it
to be
can
a judge,
okay, yeah,
You can call me.
Okay, cool.
And even better if they know how to make a broom.
There you go.
yeah.
See,
See,
way
we'll
to
just
bring
keep
it
you
all the way
occupied.
back around.
Absolutely.
I love it. That was what a great way to close it out. There you go.
Well, and one other thing,
Yeah.
even after the Christmas parade, Henderson Civic Theater is doing a Christmas carol, Scrooge and Marley, which will open the weekend after the Christmas parade.
Awesome.
So,
And
Lots
I have,
of fun stuff.
I have made a song. There's so much to do in Henderson for the holidays.
That's so good.
Yeah, help me work. Help me flesh this out, Alexa.
I'll go get the guitar out and tune it up, and we'll do the recording.
I don't sing
here.
in public.
I can't sing either, but just I felt it on my spirit.
It overcame you there for a moment. Yeah.
There is a song about Henderson.
Is there?
I've
There
heard
is.
that.
Yes. Henderson, my hometown.
I've heard it.
I can't remember how it goes, but
Tom used to play it on the radio when I did the morning
it
show with him.
specifically mentions KGRI.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what you have to do before this episode airs is dig that out of the archive so you can close out the show.
I'll have to find it. I'm sure it's in
There's-
some of my stuff somewhere.
There's a copy at KWRD.
There is?
Yes.
Really? Well, I'm sure they can send it to me before this airs.
It's probably on a reel-to-reel.
That's okay. I have 2 of them in there.
Okay.
I can play that. I've got.
Actually, it's on a 45.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've got that too, so I can handle it.
Like-
Everything but cassette. I don't have cassette anymore.
What? How do you have all that and you don't have?
I don't
You have
know.
wax
Just-
tubes. You
No.
have a
No,
Victrola, but you don't have a tape deck.
No,
No,
but you know what?
it's-
Anything we find like that, we'll take it to the broadcast museum,
There
and
you
we
go.
can transcribe
Right.
it there.
Yeah.
So
Yep. All my best stuff when I was starting out in radio was on a cassette that I can't listen to anymore.
Do you
So-
need a tape deck?
I had to go find an actual VCR
Yeah.
because all of my show recordings from the Civic Theater, yeah, they're all on VHS.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you have a VHS tape you need to watch, let me know.
I do not. No, I don't. Sorry.
All right. Well, how do folks just go find the schedule of everything going on in Henderson? What's the best place online to do that?
HendersonTX.us.
Visit the website.
Yep.
Underneath our community tab on the very top of the website, it lists out all of our major events. It'll give you more information. It'll give you pictures. It'll give you GPS directions.
It'll give you links to the Facebook pages.
Links to the Facebook page.
Good
So,
stuff.
on Facebook, we have City of Henderson, Texas Government,
Yeah, we've got a lot.
Explore Henderson TX, Heritage Syrup Festival, all have separate pages on Facebook.
Everything you've ever wanted to know about Henderson.
And active Facebook pages, not just tumbleweeds floating by.
Yeah.
We keep them up to date.
Good stuff. Well, Phedra, Alexa, thank you very much for being here with me today.
Thank you so much for having us.
It was
I
cool
can't
to have
believe
you.
we've spent this long already.
I know. Can you
And this
believe
is where the
it's-
music
yeah.
fades in.
Yeah,
Henderson.
yeah. Well, if we don't have that, it'll be like the Expedition Texas theme song or something. So we'll
Imagine
try
that.
to find the Henderson theme song, and maybe that's what you're hearing right now because we add that later.
I would love
All
that.
right.
I love that for us.
All right, folks, be sure to check us out next week. We'll see you right here, and be sure to check out the video of this podcast on the YouTube channel and lots of other cool stuff like past episodes and extended tours and all kinds of great things. Get the Expedition Texas Tales from the Road wherever you get your books, and be sure to join us here next time. So for Phedra and Alexa, I'm Bob Malden, and we'll see you next time.